Hey guys, and welcome back to this episode of the podcast. Today we're going to be discussing the Antifa violence in Portland, Oregon, and what happened to Andy NGO. So sit back, buckle up, and let's get to this thing. Okay, so first of all, let me just say this. I am extremely pissed off about this whole situation that happened in Portland. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you just how horrible it was, and to see people's reaction both on Twitter and in the media to the way it all played out, and the way they're trying to downplay it is like, oh, it's not really that bad, and Andy should have known better, he shouldn't have been there. It's just disgusting. So I'm going to start by first showing you the video of what happened to him, and then we're just going to kind of go through it the best that I can.
Fucking own, bitch!
Okay, so the first problem that you can see in this video is that he is both physically attacked, punched, and kicked. He's had multiple milkshakes thrown on him, and he has also been silly stringed and getting yelled at. And I apologize for the strong language coming from those Antifa punks in that. But the bigger problem is the police are saying that they were lacing these milkshakes with quick drying concrete or quick set concrete. And the problem with that is it has a extremely high pH. It's alkaline in nature. Well, what happens when that comes in contact with your skin? A little bit of a physics lesson here. The stuff that they put in the quick dry concrete creates a thermal reaction within the concrete. Well, what happens when that comes in contact with your bare skin is it causes chemical burns, and it can actually cause your skin to burn and melt if it's at a high enough concentration. Luckily for Andy, it doesn't look like it was a high enough concentration, but it could have caused chemical burns. And the other really sad thing is he was hospitalized overnight for this and had a brain bleed, a hemorrhage. So you can't sit back and just say, oh, it was just milkshakes and they were just protesting against the Proud Boys and other groups that were there. No, that's a lie. They set out to do that. They set out to attack him. And they were the only ones causing violence at this rally. So that made me think while I was watching this and seeing the videos on it and watching other podcasters and bloggers talk about this. You know, I remember Don Lemon and Chris Cuomo both saying that Antifa they weren't as bad as the people that they were fighting. Well, in my opinion, and from what I saw in the video, the violence was only coming from them. It wasn't coming from anyone else. So if you ask me, I think they're the violent thugs. But don't take my word for it. I'll throw in a couple videos. You'll see Chris Cuomo and Don Lemon both talking about how Antifa is not the same as the people that they're fighting against. So I'll show those videos and then we'll get back to it.
Phenomenon that is has a large following across the country, but because it is the counterpart to the conversation about how President Trump dealt with that particular moment in American history.
It says it right in the name, Antifa, anti-fascism, which is what they were there fighting. Listen, there's, no organization is perfect. There was some violence. No one condones the violence, but there were different reasons for Antifa and for these neo-Nazis to be there. One, racist fascists, the other group fighting racist fascists. There's a distinction there. Thank you both. I appreciate it.
Two wrongs and what is right. It's been 1 year since Heather Heyer was killed for standing up to hate, and our thoughts still go to her family. We know what happened with racial tensions nationwide after that, and this weekend was billed as round 2, Unite the Right, the sequel. Organizers planned a rally in Washington, D.C. this time, but the turnout of white supremacists was thankfully pathetic, which is why I didn't have to go there and cover it. Only a couple of dozen showed up. Proof they lost membership after being exposed again last year as a bunch of hateful losers? No, they're still in force online, but they didn't have the guts to show up, and that's good. Counter-protesters did. There were good numbers of them. The vast majority were peaceful. But peppered in the crowd were members of Antifa, or anti-fascists. They covered their faces, confronted police, and berated journalists. And that was wrong. Now, you've been hearing it. There's a lot of whataboutism and spin going on, and it's kind of sickening to me. So let's all agree on some common understandings. A protester uses their voice. Song, slang, slurs, there's a huge range, but it is talk. When you use your hands in a violent way, you are a rioter. And unless you're justified in defending yourself and you hit someone, you're a thug, you're a criminal. You attack cops, you slap the media, you are in the wrong, period. But I argue to you tonight, all punches are not equal morally. In the eyes of the law, yes. But in the eyes of good and evil, here's the argument. If you're a punk who comes to start trouble in a mask and hurt people, you're not about any virtuous cause. You're just somebody who's going to be held to the standard of doing something wrong. But when someone comes to call out bigots and it gets hot, even physical, are they equally wrong as the bigot they are fighting? I argue no. Fighting against hate matters. Now, how you fight matters too. There's no question about that. But drawing a moral equivalency between those espousing hate and those fighting it because they both resort to violence emboldens hate, legitimizes hateful belief, and elevates what should be stamped out. That's what Trump did wrong last year.
I don't know if you noticed in that video or not, but it seems like Chris Cuomo really believes that the Antifa violence is perfectly justified. Not really sure why. He says that they should only be acting in that way in defense of themselves, but when they attacked Andy NGO, they weren't defending themselves against anything. They attacked him for being there, for doing his job as a journalist. And I'm pretty sure I know why. To the Chris Cuomos and the Don Lemons out there in the world, you own this. This attack on Andy, that's your fault. You did that. And I know why. You know why you did it? Because you're hoping that you ratchet up the rhetoric. You say, oh no, these are good people. They're out there fighting the fascists. Then when groups like the Proud Boys and others show up at these places and Antifa decides to pick a fight with them and attack them or attack someone else that's around them, somebody pulls a gun. Now what happens? Gun goes off. Person gets shot. Then you get to go on air and claim that it was these right-wing radicals out there causing all the violence when you know for a fact that it was Antifa the whole time, and you held them up and you said that these were great people. They're just out there, just protesting peacefully. That's bullcrap, and you know it. And the rest of us that are in the middle, we're on to you and we know what you're doing. So I'm going to put up some screenshots here, and I want you to realize that this was not just Andy NGO that was attacked. It was also other people. And, you might say it's one thing if they attack him because they had threatened him and he decided he was still going to show up and he was going to report it because that's his job. But it's another thing when you're attacking other innocent people that are just standing by or trying to jump into Andy's defense, and that's what you do. No, you're the violent thugs. It's not the other people, it's you. So you're going to notice, you're going to see an elderly man with white hair. And what happened to him is he was beaten by one of these thugs with a crowbar. You're going to see his bloody face. This is what people like this do. They're out here for a reason. They say they're fighting fascism, but they're not. They're totalitarians. If you don't think the way they do, they're going to cause violence. They're going to beat you up. They're going to milkshake you. Why not? Carlos Maza told him to do it. I'll put the tweet up on the screen right now. And you'll see he says milkshake them all. And then he's going to sit back and say, whoa, I just said milkshakes, guys. I didn't say to put acid or anything else in there. He's going to claim that he had nothing to do with it. He's ratcheting up tensions right along with the rest of them. And he knows it. And it's disgusting. And yet that man gets to go tell YouTube that they need to take people down? No. That's a disgrace. And do you think that he's going to stand up for Andy? I wasn't going to bring this up, but Andy, by his own admission, is gay. So is Carlos Maza. It's right there on his Twitter handle, @gaywonk. Do you think he's going to stand up and say, hey, you know, this isn't right. This is a hate crime? No, of course he won't. You know why? Because Andy's considered conservative. He's out there doing his job as a journalist, and this is what happens to him? No, it's beyond disgusting. And it's going to cause violence in the streets. And then you know what's going to happen? Come your 2020 election, guess what? No, I'm sorry, not 2020, 2024 election. The first candidate that stands up there on the stage and says, I'm going to stop these violent Antifa thugs, is going to get voted in. And do you really think that's the person that you want as the president? No, because once Antifa's gone, then who does it spread to? Well, then it's going to be anybody that doesn't agree with that president on an ideological level. I'm telling you, it's not going to end there. I'm going to leave this with a screenshot of what Mr. Andy NGO looked like after his attack, and tell you that if you want to continue this conversation, you can either leave it down in the comments or DM me or tweet at me @ThoughtJourney, @Thought_Journey. Until next time, see you later, guys.